Welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. Now to explode as we start the women's final here in June. The leading riders about to hit the climb, and this is where we see who has got what it takes to take away that prize money. This is where it's going to count now. Gilson comes up to the front. Is she going to set the pace? She goes alongside Faber, but then drops back a touch. When will we see the big guns come out and fire? We're not seeing Van Heuling moving up through the group just yet. 5 more kilometers to go. As we come up the side of the Jebel Hafid, we've got Gibson and Faber. Chase is coming behind as Jojo Bauer and Gemma Brogan are starting to break the group behind apart. We have Bauer, we have Faber, we have Gilson. Brogan just hanging off the back, makes contact again. They're back together again. Oh, this is so brutal. And again, another attack here. Bauer goes, but Gilson goes over the top. This is nothing to choose between, and Gilson's got 7 watts per kilo. Can they answer it again? No. But Bauer is coming now. Can Gilson respond again? The line is coming. This is going to be about these final few meters. Who's got the kick? Gilson goes, Bauer goes. They're side by side, and it's going to go down to the line, but Jojo Bauer gets the finish. What a race finish. So hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club with me, Matt Payne. I'm going to be bringing you all of the action here with the team behind the scenes at MyWhoosh as we bring you the Sunday Race Club qualifier number 1, the 3rd of July 2022. This the first of 4 qualifiers prior to our prize money final at the end of the month, and we've got a cracking course here today. Now, our men's and women's races today, starting off with a relatively easier start than we sometimes see. 215 meters of elevation in the first 28.8k, and it is a much smoother course, less steep elevation. However, when we get to the end, big kicks, lots of roller coaster roads, and a real tough finish with 505 meters of elevation coming in that last 6.2k. So that is going to be really critical. Along the way, we have 7 segments. The first 3 segments at 1k long, along with segments 4 and 5. But segments number 6 and 7 are then at 5k segment. Each segment timed individually from the start of the segment to the end of the segment, so we get a good indication of who's moving up, who's moving down, who's got the pace, who maybe is carrying momentum through. So a total elevation of 720 meters across 35 kilometers of course here today. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this race pans out, particularly on the basis that, of course, this is qualifier number 1. We had our finals last week and they were amazing, really active, aggressive racing. Make sure you jump on and watch that back on the MyWhoosh YouTube channel. And don't forget, of course, if you hit subscribe, you'll be notified when we go live. Now, as usual, 3 categories. Category 1, our top category with the Spartan obstacles. The team to beat time and time again. Very strong. Again, as we saw in our final, with Van Heuling, Brogan, Fua, and Cafedo really out to take victory. The Strong Girls team have been amazingly strong, and we will see whether they're going to be in their looper again, fielding a good, strong set of riders with Gallagher, Litton, Francis, and Smithers, but can Lask, Colombianos, and knock them off the top. Only 2 riders, though, from that team. Not enough, I think, to qualify for the team award. So our category 1, top of the tree. Our next category after category 1 is our category 2 riders. Now they are the riders the next step down the tree, as well as individuals in all these categories. Of course, we have our teams, and don't discount any of these teams, in fact, from the overall victory, because we know just how strong they are. The Strong Women's team, the team that was 2nd overall, beating a load of the first category teams last time round, took lots of scalps, but Team Cycle Zone 1, the Team Fitness, Team 10, the Slam Bike Shop riders, as well as the Abu Dhabi squad, all very quick. And again, lots of riders who can figure in the top 10, as well as taking that victory. And of course, riders like Leslie Ann Cordera, Julie Sanchez, looking like Golden Light. We've got lots of people who can go in and really mix it up in category 2 as well. And of course, Category 3, another big race field in that as well. So our Category 2 riders above, the Category 3 riders, the riders just starting off with a lower power, and the riders checked and verified on the way through to see just what categories they should jump into. Our Climate Girls team and the team RT Cycle Zone Ladies 3 always battling it out between each other. It is great to see. So really, really interesting to see how these riders get on as they go through the race. Lots of individual riders in Category 3 as well, which will be really interesting to watch, see how they progress. Don't forget, all of the results at the end of the race will be up on the MyWhoosh race site. They are unofficial until they're verified, that system checking it out. But we're now into the last 30 seconds prior to race start, and this is all about getting a great kick off from the line. That clock on countdown means that our riders will be trying to time their kick off from the start. Some riders pushing really early, really hard, and really fast, maybe 30 seconds before. Other riders will just be winding up now with 5 seconds to go. Who's going to get the jump off that line? They're all going to be winding it up. Have they got the timing right to get off from the gun? It looks like we've seen some very quick kicks off, but most of that budge up and away. And this is about getting the pace down really early. You can see some big numbers here. We've seen 7 watts per kilo coming out from some of these riders as they come off the line. Brittany Litton right at the front, Karuk Kaveda going over the top, Golden Light in there, Van Heuling and Co. all mixing it up. So Karuk Kaveda on the front, Golden Light, we said she could mix it in with them. The second category riders up with our first category riders here. Could see Lubna El Halawani getting a great start there. And Elizabeth Van Heuling looks like she's back to her rocket speed best as well, right up into the pack. Jenny Tan in there, Emma Martin, Stephanie Quevedo. Looks like a real good mix in here. Great to see. They're in just riding in with Lubna El Halawani at the moment. So great to see Lubna jumping in and absolutely nailing this from the start. You can just see these riders are motoring from the start. It's a quick start here. Now, a lot of our courses will have hills at the start. We might have a very quick kick up that splits it up. But at the moment, this is about jumping in with the bunch. And look at this pack of riders here. Huge numbers getting in together as they came off from that start line. And this is really critical. So riding in with our riders at the moment, and they are looking to keep that pace nice and high. We've got third category and second category riders jumping in here as they make the way in and through, as they move up, and they've got to ride in with that punch. They don't want to drop out of the draft. So it's key to keep the numbers in green on the left-hand side of the screen. The numbers, if they go to black, they're in the not in the draft. They are pushing the way through the air. So it's key here. So our riders motoring. Interesting to see we've got to Rebecca Gilson, the rider who made that amazing chase back previously, getting back in touch. We're just in with Angie Power at the moment, now in with Gilson. Now Rebecca Gilson motored her way up and through. A bit of an unknown Rebecca, and looking forward to seeing how she performs in here today. She was absolutely flying. She got distance at the start. She had a massive recovery which blunted her speed, I think, a little at the end. She was still in the fight for the win, but it was Jojo Bauer who took top spot, with Gilson in second and Brogan in third. But great racing, and great to see those tactics play out as these riders race the way in and through. Now we're already 2 minutes 30 into the racing. We're at 1.6k covered on the clock with Gilson. A little bit further back, it looks like Musa Al Mansouri just in that pack of third category riders, and they're all going to be battling for position to try and make sure that they get themselves some company on the way through. It's really key to make sure that you've got somebody in and riding with you. And you can just see, I think Faber just a little bit further back, 1.2k. So good to see Faye back and racing. Faye, of course, one of our riders right up at the top of the standings. She was fourth in our finals last week, and I think Faye picking her time. Now, remember, of course, the qualifiers are all about getting a verified ride. So lots of our riders are managing to squeeze this in. It is in Europe and in Great Britain. It's Faye Weber. It's July here. And Faye, no doubt, having a big packed program. Same in the Northern Hemisphere for Rosaline Barragan. And again, these riders will be going out and riding, and they're going to be putting in rides that necessarily at the moment aren't their best performances, because we're in the qualifiers and not in the finals where everybody pulls out their A game. They've got to pack in training, racing, riding. There's lots of track leagues up and go. So the Northern Hemisphere riders at the moment are really in to the middle of summer and the prime riding outdoors. But all of our riders pulling it together when they come in to those finals. So we've got to get 2 qualifying rides in. And remember, of course, those qualifying rides have to be verified on the way through now. Just in with Maria Jose Zabala and with this group of third category riders. And I think we're just going to see them moving through nicely here together. So Madera, Shamaleva, Tojilan, looks like El Mansouri in here as well. They've got riders in front about 11 seconds up the road. So if they work together, and they've got a chance of pulling back. Remember, this is about making sure that you work as a group. If you're on your own, like I think Jessica Mendoza is, she's having to do all of the work herself, and that is very tough stuff. She's not going to see those numbers on the top left-hand side of a screen go into the green. So Jessica Mendoza at the moment is clear, but can Jessica keep clear of the riders behind? Erin Poulton, 12 seconds behind, and that group chasing behind about 12, 13 seconds behind. Meanwhile, we've just jumped back to our leaders at the moment as we come in and through the results. Let's have a look. It's Gilson who led them through with the fastest time there, then Tan, Cordera, Van Heuling, Para, El Halawani, Gaviria, Fua, Hernandez, Smithers, Black, and Brogan. Those are our leading riders through. Now the chasers are starting to come in and through as well. So fast time, 1 minute 39 for the first of our segments. It's set by Gilson, but look at the mix. We have our green jerseys of second category riders in with the yellow jerseys of first category riders, and this is going to be really interesting to see just how they can hold in now. Just seeing riders start to be distanced from the main pack here as that pace continues onwards from the race start. So good to see our riders in and racing. So Gilson at the moment just sitting at the back of that pack, and you see the big numbers in green there, just hovering around about that 170 to 200 watts mark as she was holding pace. Just has to push on here, just going around the side of Jenny Tan Mendoza and co, just starting to be distanced a little bit from the group. But Jenny Tan, I think, has just managed to squeeze back into that group as she works her way up. So Gilson in there. Now looks like Martin has been distanced here. Emma Martin being distanced by that leading group with 13 seconds. Mendoza is coming up behind at 4 watts per kilo. So this is where the riders have to pay attention to the riders around them. Will we see a kick to jump back in? Or with the fast flying Mendoza, as he goes in and through, you see the watts per kilo have moved up. So this is about jumping in and holding the wheels on the way through. And this is where the experienced riders know the jump in. If you've been distanced by the group in front, wait for somebody else to come through, jump in with them, and then continue onwards. And that experience of regular riding, not just on MyWhoosh, but also on riding on any of the esports platforms, that variation really does mean that our riders have to be able to adapt and move across. And we're just seeing that there. The experience of riding on MyWhoosh makes a massive difference. You can see the experienced racers jumping in and carrying across those skills. So if, for example, like Emma Martin, you are experienced cross rider or mountain bike rider, you'll know how to kick, you'll know how to place the power. And that's the same for all of these riders. You know, we've got riders in like Jojo Bauer, who took the win last time out. Jojo, of course, sister to Jack Bauer, top time trial rider, knows how to sit at a pace, knows how to put a kick in, knows how to respond to the terrain, and a regular top flight rider. And that's what we're seeing across the men's and women's race fields here on MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. So our riders are now at 4.5k for the front of the race as they come in and through. Segment number 1, the first of our segments, the fastest time through there, a 1:39. There, as you can see on the left of your screen, for Gilson. The riders behind Mendoza, Tan, and Cordero coming in and through. But Jenny Tan paying, I think, for that effort. She's was really in trouble. Interesting to see that we've got Bardoskaya sat in this group as well. Bardoskaya, a rider who can take the win at the top of the hill, riding as an individual. But look at this. You can just see Golden Light and El Halawani, the second category riders, mixing it up with the leaders, the first category riders up on the front. And great to see Lisa Brummel riding well here. And it may well be that a number of these riders thought, you know what, we're going to set a marker on race number 1. We've had the finals. We've pressed reset. If you had a great ride in those finals, you carry that momentum, that feeling through. If you aren't, then you would be looking to try and press that reset button, not just turning it off at the plug and turning it back on again. If you're wanting to reboot your PC, this is a reset of the body and to try and get your mind back in and up to speed. So let's see just how that plays out and just who has been able to press that reset button, get themselves back up and running, and who at the moment is fighting with the system and trying to make it all work, no matter how bad the feeling and how tough it is. There's no room for typos in the system here. You've got to get it absolutely spot on when you're racing, and the guys know that they need to keep this dial. So Golden Light going to come in towards the line. I think it's going to be El Halawani who's going to go just through in front as they go through the start of this segment. We're at 5.5k. And at 5.5k, we're coming into the start of segment number 2. And you can see the second category riders are not messing about here. They are taking it to the first category riders. We love it when they come out and they give our first cat riders a hard time. Make them work for their money. Make them work for those golden jerseys, the bright yellow jersey of the leaders of the categories in category number 1. And just like you'd see the jerseys allocated for ability across, so the leaders of categories. So we get it in the teams here and the riders here. So our first category riders at the top of the tree in yellow, second category in green, third category in blue. Now Brummel moves to the front, 5.76 watts per kilo. He's going to see a response here. Gilson quickly comes across the gap here. Now Rebecca Gilson goes up to 6.9 watts per kilo. It's now 6 watts per kilo. So Rebecca Gilson has to respond. She's jumped on here. She's not going to let Brummel go, but she's trying to sit in the slipstream. Brummel puts another kick in here. May well be one to just test the legs. We're on this climb here of 2.4%. So this long, gradual ascent, testing the riders' legs as they go up here. And we're starting to see the groups break now. Van Heuling goes across to Gilson. Is she going to go straight past her? She may well do so. Now, remember, Brummel riding for the Strong Girls squad. Van Heuling riding for the Spartan Obstacles squad are going to want to match the pace of leaders. Gilson comes back over the top here at 7 watts per kilo, then looks to have eased slightly, but only back to about 6.9 now. The riders behind, if Gilson goes on the offensive, they've got to watch out. We saw Gilson put in a massive dig as she came out on the chase, but I think that was an effort just for that segment. So Gilson's time on that segment, a 1:48. By Heuling's a 1:52. Also on 1:52, Bardovskaya in third place. But these riders coming through, these top riders at the moment, are currently motoring. We are talking 1:48 on that ascent up there. And look at those watts, 315 watts across that segment, 5.2 watts per kilo. And the heart rate right up there, Gilson's heart rate, 170 beats per minute. So brutal stuff from our riders, and interesting to see how that is doing damage a little bit further back, because that group is just starting to feel it. I think just watching Gilson at the back behind us, Smithers, Brummel, Cavado, Golden Light being distant. So Cavado, one of our regular top riders, to 6th place in the finals last week. The Spartan Obstacles rider now distanced by 7 seconds. She's got Golden Light for company, and Golden Light will be wanting to push back into this group, as will all of those riders. But this is going to be a big ask. They've got Madison Black, Liliana Moreno behind them, and they've got to work. Brummel just sitting, making sure she's staying in that draft. You can see those numbers are green. She's got to keep in the back of this pack and respond to those attacks. Great riding here by Heidi Figueroa, and good to see Heidi right in the mix here, the second category rider, working well. So Heidi Figueroa quickly in to the back of that pack again, trying not to lose any ground, not be distant, sit in the slipstream, not put in too much work. Liliana Moreno currently sits at 3 seconds off the back of this group. That means just a little bit in trouble, but Lytton Sanchez, Van Heuling, we've got Parra, we've got Bardovskaya, all working well. Cavado just get back into the mix. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they do this because this is going to be a long race. We were talking 7.7k covered so far. Don't forget, we've got to go to 35k. It's rolling. It's not as steep. It's not as brutal as we sometimes see at the start of our rides. I think the team at MyWhoosh just been a little bit kind that time around. So you can see we go through the desert, only 215 meters of elevation in the first 28.8k. And then 505, that final kick up to the finish. The same as actually at the end of the men's races as the end of the women's. So the same final kick in to the line. It was very, very, very interesting watching our riders in the men's race go up there. I'm sure it's going to be the same in our women's race. So here on MyWhoosh on Sunday, a race club with me and Matt Payne. Our riders at 8.1k, 14 minutes plus now of racing in with 35k in total to cover. We've got a leading breakaway of riders going clear. And that leading bunch, as you can see, consisting of riders in the second category with Madison Black on your screens at the moment in the green. In the yellow, they are our first category riders at the moment, and they are working well to keep this group together. But they have steadily shed riders from the gun. It started off as a big pack of about 35 to 40 riders, almost everybody getting off the start line together. Madison Black quickly kicking back into this group, not wanting to be distanced, but as you can see, the pace is hot. We're doing 40 kilometers per hour pretty much at the moment to get it back into the group there from Madison Black, sitting in the pack at about 35 now. Just having a little bit look back up further down. Interesting to see that Catherine Fua has been a distance. Mendoza has been distance. Poulton has been a distance. So Erin a little bit further down, but Catherine Fua really working hard. She's got riders behind who could get into the mix. They need to find themselves company as they make their way up and through these hills, because on those downhills, that's going to pay off big style. Fiona Schroeder quite far down the group as well, but the looking, I think it's 17th place at the moment for Lydia Adeline. So Adeline at the moment pushing on with company. Leslie Ion, Cordera, Stefania Gaviria, as well as Angel and Hadlock. They are distance from the main group. This is group number 2 on the road at the moment. So group number 1 up the road, and you can just see Brogan in touch with them. Group number 2 with Adeline and Co currently at 28 seconds, so nearly half a minute separating group 1 and group 2 on the road, but both groups with a mix of first and second category riders together here at MyWhoosh on qualifier number 1 of our July races. Remember, 4 qualifiers, 2 qualifying rides minimum for our riders to go through into the finals. Got to get 2 qualifying rides verified, and that shows up as an official result on the website. And don't forget, of course, you can go onto the MyWhoosh website. That's www.mywhoosh.com. and get all of the race results. You can see the split times for each of those segments. And you can also, of course, check out the power numbers and just see just where the race was won and lost if you're into your data and your stats. If, like me, you prefer watching the live action, then don't forget, of course, to subscribe to the MyWhoosh YouTube channel. I'm on almost every week, not quite. I got a few gaps here and there where we're out supporting racing elsewhere, and that includes next week when we're going to be out at the Scarborough Festival of Cycling. Going to be doing some youth development work out there, and going to be joined instead by Jeff, who's going to be back here. So be good to see Jeff in action on the mic next week. Now, segment number 3 complete. Guess who's at the top of the standings? Here's Rebecca Gilson, 1 minute 24.330. So segments 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 1k long. Gilson, Para, Brogan, Litton, Van Heuling, El Halawani, Sanchez, Badaskaya, Figueroa, as well as Brummel, Black, and Smithers in and through. And you can see those times very, very similar to each other. That's a group working well, and that says to me, with the how close those times are, that nobody at the moment really in particular trouble. They shed a number of riders on the way through who are trying to stay in with this pack, but I think this course has found out those riders who can stay. And it is definitely a lot of our very familiar names right up at the top of the tree at the moment. Gilson looking very, very comfortable in there. 146. We see a heart rate rocket right up. We saw her on the attack last week. That heart rate going right up in the 180s, dropping back down really quickly. Sign of somebody who's really, really on top of their game. If you're feeling fit, you're feeling strong, then generally what you will find is that that heart rate will go up and it will come back down nice and quickly. If you're not well, then that heart rate won't drop. So, for example, my resting heart rate is around about 46 or so, down to about 42 at its lowest when I'm feeling fit and going well. When I'm going like a bag of spanners, then it sits nearer the 50s and 60s, and if I'm poorly, it goes up to the 70s. Now, that's the same for these riders. When they recover, that heart rate will drop, and you can see these riders at the moment cruising along. Lydia Adelaide, 147, Madison Black here, 144, 143 beats per minute. And the riders are really very similar between these two riders. Adeline, front of group number 2. We saw Black at the back of group number 1, and these are the chasers. So Lydia Adeline, a rider who we know can figure strongly on those climbs, strong rider just at the front in that yellow jersey of category 1 rider behind her. We've got plenty of riders working hard, but interesting to see that Catherine Fua, only sitting at 3.6 watts per kilo, is chasing this group. Now, can Fua make this gap back? It's currently at 6 seconds to the riders in front, and I think Catherine Fua just working really, really hard here. It's 157, another 10 beats or so on top, and that means that she's working, I think, to bring that gap down. It's down at 5 seconds now, so come on, Catherine. This is the time to push. Don't let that gap come out there. Inside, the gap is coming down. We're on a slight uphill that will reduce the physical distance between the riders. So remember, of course, uphill distances between riders decrease for the same time. Going downhill, the distance between the riders increases for that same time gap. Now, looks to me like the riders in front are just aware that they've got Fua coming through at pace, just starting to squeeze on. Meanwhile, the leaders are at 12K covered, 20 minutes of racing done, and this group working well with Lisa Brummel at the moment, just kicking clear of that group at 5.5 watts per kilo. So they're going to come up and through underneath the gantry, and this is going to start the clock running once again. So at 12.5K. Our riders running into segment number 4. This is another 1K segment. And the question is, who is going to chase? We are going to see our second category riders. Looks like El Halawani are just trying to pick the pace up. Brummel just taking the pace out there. So using that segment just to stretch your legs out. And you just see the numbers going down, the watts decreasing, the watts per kilo obviously then decreasing as well as the power comes off. The riders doing the work here. Interesting to see a lot of the second category riders doing the work, and the first category riders just being a little bit careful in how they expend that energy. Now, over the top of these riders up to the front goes Gilson, but she was immediately off the power, back down to 1.7 watts per kilo. So here on the Sunday Race Club on MyWhoosh, the platform brings all of this great racing, the key, the accurate racing, the accurate representation, the accurate way that our riders are verified, all key to making sure that these riders get a great race experience, and of course also have the experience of it being valid, because they know that these competitors are verified. They know that the weight, the performance, the data, the connections between computer and power meter, all monitored by the team at MyWhoosh using some really innovative ways to measure that data, including AI that is learning from everybody's data all the time. It's checking, of course, our riders are doing something that's physically possible. And of course, it's not necessarily deliberate manipulation. Riders can get variations if your kit is playing up. If there's a temperature variation in your power, in the room that you're in, your power meter will read differently, and that is really, really key. One rider who is strong time and time again, Rebecca Gilson, leading them through another fastest split time. Gilson goes through 1 second quicker than Julia Sanchez. Looks like in the mix here, though, it is some of our regular fast riders, and that group still still big numbers, way over 10 in that pack. That's kind of, for me, the critical number that you can just see at the moment. Gilson leading, Sanchez in second, Moreno in third. The power numbers, well, they're going right up to 4.2, but we've seen these up in the 5s, 6s, and 7s before now. The heart rate, quite a variation again, 180, the highest number on that screen. The lowest number on the screen, I think, is going to be a 136. That is from Gemma Brogan. And we know Brogan is really good on courses where she's got a good flat section to power along and then to kick at the end of. And that's what this course is going to do. So are we going to see Brogan putting the kick in, taking it away up at the top of the tree? Third last week in the finals. Will she be able to do that again? So our race leaders continue onwards now. Interesting to see these riders. They come through these segments. We're at 14.3K covered at the moment. And just taking a little bit of a look back at Jessica Mendoza, just putting in a faster time that time around now. Jessica Mendoza is actually in one of the later groups further down the course. And that means that later group are pushing. Here's Jessica Mendoza. She has the fastest split time. She came through the groups and has been absolutely flying here. So Mendoza has got company. She's got company of Caldera. She's got company of Adeline at the moment. She's got Angel and Hadlock in there as well as Gaviria. And those riders are motoring at the moment. They put in a fast time, and Mendoza clearly using this group to push back up. And I think we're going to see Jessica Mendoza continue up through here. She's in good company. They clearly want to minimize their losses to the riders in front. It's only 54 seconds. And as we've seen in races before on MyWhoosh, as well as races like the women's Tour de France, women's classics, things like the Giro d'Italia for the women, the Giro Donna. You see the riders when they go up onto the climb, doesn't matter how good you are, if you have a bad day on the hill, you are going to suffer. And that may well be the case that these riders behind, whilst they might not challenge for the win, because our winners are clearly not going to be having a bad day, some of these riders in this lead pack are expending a lot of energy to stay in here. They are riding inside out. They are basically pushing beyond the envelope and pushing themselves beyond what they may be comfortable doing. The moment we hit the climb, they could be in trouble. And if that is the case, that chasing group behind could well pull the gap back down again, because they could come past. They're sitting at a very smooth pace. It's really good to see the groups getting together further back down the race field. And we always say, if you're on a ride, make sure that when you're on a ride, when you're racing, you jump in, learn how to ride behind people. If you can shelter, if you can stay out of the wind, then that makes a big, big difference. And gotta say, the riders who win are not necessarily the riders who work the hardest. They are generally the riders who work the smartest, and they save that energy. They use it only when they need to. So good to see Ursula Bardowskaya up here. Bardowskaya, one of our regular riders, fighting it out for the win. First category rider in the mix here, riding well and in this leading group, the chasing group behind with Adeline here in the pack, flying the way up through the race a little bit further down behind this group. Fua, Tan, and Martin at the moment continuing to push onwards here. So Emma Martin from Graben continues to push, an experienced racer and rider, and as a ride leader as well as a coach and national standard rider here, riding second category here on MyWhoosh. And interesting just to watch this power go down. 148 beats per minute, 88, 85 revs per minute. Nice smooth pedal cadence there, coming up to the 14.3K marker. And continuing on, right on level 3 on MyWhoosh. Remember, these are riders continuing to move the way up and through those levels as you go through. More miles you do, more kilometers you do on the platform, the further up you go. In front, you can just see this is our chasing group behind our leaders. They are trying to close down a minute gap on the group on your screen. Now, these are our race leaders at the moment here on MyWhoosh on the Sunday Race Club at 16.3 kilometers. So here we go. Riders pushing on here. We are seeing Angel and Hadlock at the back of the front of the chasing group behind, trying to get onto the back of this pack, the back of the pack at the moment, while that is Gilson hiding out of the wind. And you can see these first category riders who really push on. There's no point just sitting and riding on the front, doing all the work, burning yourself out. This group have got a gap of over a minute. They know that they don't need to push too hard to keep this group away, but the group behind with Mendoza here are working well. Now, on this climb, they know that they want to try and bring the gap back. They know that they've got it to a minute. I'm not sure they think they can bring that any further, but we are currently at 16.2K. Remember, we're covering 35 kilometers in total. So approaching that halfway distance. At the moment, the chasers really are working the way up and through. So halfway through the course, you can see out on the course, this is predominantly a desert and gorgeous set. We're going out in the desert, out through the barren lands, the odd oasis on the way through to that 38.8. As we come through the end of segment 5, that really does emphasize just how fast that pack are going. Another 147 on segment 5. That's our final segment at the end of 17K. So Madison Black leading through, Lubna El Halawani in second place, Brommel in third, Golden Light in fourth, Van Heuling in fifth, Hernandez in sixth, Gilson in seventh, Moreno in eighth, Litton in ninth, Brogan rounding out the top 10. Then it's Smithers and Cavado in 11th and 12th places. But who will take the title at the end? We hit half race distance, 17.5K, and it looks to me like the chasing group have just dropped Mendoza. Now that's a surprise. We thought Mendoza was one of the power riders in there. May well be she's just dropped off that pace to go back and to pick up some speed to get a little bit quicker by pushing on and grabbing us some food or some fuel. Remember, our riders have got to eat. This is not just a sprint effort. They've got to fuel up. You've got to get that glycogen in the body. You've got to be able to put it into your muscles and get it out the other side. And that is really, really key, because without that, you will blow and you'll be in trouble. So that could be a gel, it could be food, it could be fuel. The riders often will just ease off the pace. It's a real skill being able to eat whilst you're moving. Now, back up at the front of the race as we go over the bridge over the lake. At the moment, the lead group has suddenly had a grenade go off inside it here. We've seen a big push on here, and it has split the group. So whilst we were checking out on Mendoza being distanced, it looks to me like there's been a big attack. It's come from Gilson. Now, Gilson is on the offensive. The response has come Van Heuling, El Halawani, Golden Light, Brommel, and Hernandez have gone after her, and it looks like Gilson's push on to go through there, through that 18-kilometer marker. It really has split things apart. So chasing group just going to bring her back here. So Gilson stretches her legs. The chasers behind work together to bring her back down again, but that has done some serious damage. We're at 18.7 after that attack there. The group all back together again. Now, at MyWhoosh, one of the great things of working as part of the MyWhoosh team is that we get to find out a little bit ahead of time some great news, and we've got some more to bring you. The constant development of the platform and the way that we're able to bring it to you to go out and ride it is continuing onwards. Let's catch up with some more great news about that now. So that's right. So for those of you who are watching on YouTube thinking, I want to jump on, I don't have an Apple mobile device. How to get on? Well, launched today. We have the launch of our system running on the PC rather than running on just a phone or a tablet. So if you want to jump on there, there are minimum specs on there. So don't forget, you need to make sure that your kit's up to date. Try to future-proof this as much as possible by making sure it will run with the latest systems. So if you've got a really old bit of kit, if something is steam driven out there, it isn't going to work. But jump on, download it. You can get that on the App Store for your mobile. Don't forget, of course, you can go on and get it on Windows. And you, of course, go onto the website. That is www.mywhoosh.com. And you can set up your pain cave with your PC running on the big screen, showing you what you're doing actually in the game with some great graphics, some real high resolution graphics in there. You can have your tablet at the side with the race results as you're racing. And you can even have your phone running so that you can run your music. You can sit on your phone and watch the coverage, of course. If you're racing, you watch live coverage with me, Matt Payne, and the team all the way through the YouTube channel. So remember, it's all about making sure that you keep connected, that you make sure that it's all in and running. And we are absolutely pleased as punch that's come out. I can't say it. It's really looking forward to pushing it up, lucky enough to be able to use our studios here as the way that we run in and through into the game, and able to ride in front of one of our really big monitors here, which is great. You can see just how much I'm suffering in full Technicolor. It's terrible, really. And looking forward to putting that up on the screen. Been mirroring it up from an Apple device. And if you want to get it on the big screen from Apple, don't forget, Apple mirroring will push you up. So if you've got yourself an Apple iPhone, for example, and you want to push that up onto a big screen with an Apple TV box, you'll be able to do that. You can mirror it across and you can push it up, even onto a projector onto the wall. So if you've got a nice big blank wall, you can actually project that down. A colleague of mine who we run the Donny Chain Gang with, an ex-professional rider, Russ Down, he's got a curved wall built into his pain cave. Now it's about 4 meters across, and it's actually curved round him as he rides, and it makes it totally immersive. So when he jumps on MyWhoosh or similar, he actually gets round him, all the riders coming in and through. Really great setup with a projector as well. And he's got the legs to match it, unlike me. He gives me a kick in every time we go out on the bike, it has to be said. Okay, enough of the tech. Back to the racing here at MyWhoosh, as we see Musa Al-Mansouri go in through over that bridge over the lake. They're just in front, the group of riders. I think Erin Poulton currently sitting about 16 seconds up the road. Jumping in with Fiona Schroeder at the moment. Fiona, another of our regular riders. Fiona, always great to hear from Fiona, and regularly feeding back into the team here at MyWhoosh. She's at 17.2k, so coming up to half race distance. Fiona currently sitting 33rd, and I think qualifying ride in the same for Faye Faber. Faye, another rider that we know can be right up at the top of the standings. And Faye, I think, squeezing this in around time trialing, in around regularly going out and racing. And good to see Faye, regular time trial rider now, looking like she's just getting this in, getting the qualifier in, which means that we're going to hopefully see them in our finals. Remember, of course, 2 qualifying rides have to be verified as being accurate and confirmed to go in to our finals, and that's true whether you are a third cat, a first cat, second cat rider on the way in to the finish. So this group of third cat riders are motoring. They've got a target in front. The character catch is going to be Emma Martin, then Jenny Tan, then Catherine Fua. And these third cat riders are riding really strongly. Fua just up in front with Tan for company. Remember, Catherine Fua, another of our really strong riders who are able to challenge at the front of the race. Sitting here, putting on a nice, smooth 2.3 watts per kilo, that heart rate of 132. Great pedal revs, the cadence, 92 revs per minute. And you can just see these riders trying to stay in touch with our leaders. But the leading group at the moment, well, the status quo is maintained. They are rolling along pretty smoothly indeed. Just having a look at the bottom of the pack, I think, as the riders have ruled off, we're seeing 1 or 2 riders not able to stay in contention and to get distance just a little bit. And I think we're seeing riders just start to get pushed out. Liliana Moreno, I think, just now dropping back at 43 seconds. So looks like we're losing one or two off this front pack, mostly second cap riders, but not exclusively. Meanwhile, up at the front, good to see that Marcel Smithers is in here. Smithers looking strong at the moment, and great to see the Looper squad with riders represented right up at the front. The Looper squad of Gallagher, Litton, Francis, and Smithers could be in for a shout here for the team award. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting team category. Remember, it's 3 counters in the team. The cumulative time of the top 3 riders in your team count to give you that team time. And the Looper squad, I think, could be in with a shout here because we've got Brittany Litton in here. We've got Marcel Smithers, and it's just going to depend on where Gallagher and Francis are a little bit further down that race field. Because, of course, everybody wants to see their team name right up at the top of the standings. It doesn't matter whether it's a qualifier or a final. You want to be up at the top. You don't want to be at the bottom. And that is why you see these riders riding for each other so strong. It does make a difference as well in terms of motivation. Just trying to keep yourself pushing onwards as you move up through the race field. So our riders continue to push to get themselves up in the prime spot, sitting in the draft without sitting on the front at the moment. This group about 13 riders strong at the moment as Madison Black just pushes off the back of the pack, just riding in with Elizabeth Van Heuling. Good to see Elizabeth back up to the 4 again. But interesting to see that we've got riders like Angie Parra, Golden Light, Lubna El Halawani, all mixing it up with our first cats here. Golden Light, the rider riding individually, just moving to one side there, riding as an individual in the second category. But our second cat riders, they don't want to let this pace drop too much. They want to keep squeezing on. The first cat riders are just hiding behind. I think this is an interesting tactic. Now, let's see. Are we going to see a big push? Brommel goes over the top here. The pace had just gone off. They just eased back a little bit. We're at 23.5K at the moment. We're 1K off the next of our checkpoints, and Brommel has decided enough is enough. I'm not sitting here riding at 2 watts per kilo and letting everybody behind come. Lisa Brommel has gone on the offensive here on MyWhoosh on the Sunday Race Club. This is a big attack from Brommel. She's gone hard. She's got 6 seconds on the group behind. El Halawani is coming after her, but very interestingly, the big guns have not decided that they need to chase just yet. And this is going to be interesting because as we see a Brommel go up the road, we are seeing the chase come, and now it comes from Gilson. So Gilson, with that timeline to jump after her, that is going to cost her. She needs some help as well because remember, Brommel went off hard. He's forced Gilson to chase. This is damaging Gilson's legs. Brommel has backed off a little bit here, but Gilson took the bait and has gone after her. Brommel is easing off a touch here. Behind the group are coming quickly. And I think they're all going to come back together again. But are we going to see the counter punch? We saw Brommel putting that initial kick, that initial break off the front. Now comes that group back together again. Has anybody been distanced? Is anybody really, really in trouble behind? I don't think they are. I think they've all been able to answer that attack. So Gilson on the front. She's putting in a dig here. I think she wants to take away top spot in the segment. It's an 8:44, I think, for Gilson as she came in and through, but these riders are all coming back together again. So here we go. Gilson indeed takes that by 0.663 of a second from Madison Black. Lubna El Halawani in third place. Heidi Figueroa in fourth is Natalie Hernandez in fifth. Then comes Bardeskaya and Litton, followed by Van Heuling, Sanchez, Brogan, Light, and Smithers. But these riders are absolutely motoring here today, and that is really interesting to see just how quick they're working to bring the gap down if they get distanced and how fast they're going through there now. Look at the average watts per kilo on here. We were seeing numbers of 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s even in the finals at the moment. With that lull part way through, The pace has come off. We also, nobody's sitting at 180 beats at the moment. In fact, nobody's up in the 160s or, no, one in the 170s. That's El Halwani. So only one rider with their heart rate above 157 at the moment. And that is telling these riders just recovering a little bit on the way in and through. The Abu Dhabi squad with 2 riders in the mix. Spartan Obstacles, 2 riders in the mix. Looper with 2 riders in the mix. The third rider, the third counter for these teams is going to be absolutely critical as they come in through the finish to take that team award, because whoever that third rider is, wherever they are in that race field, they are going to have to push on to get on up there. So segment 6 complete. Our next segment comes at 28.8k, and that is as we enter the mountain section, and we have a little flat run through in the start of that before it really does ramp up. So segment number 6 done. I'm going to be moving on to segment number 7, 28.8 to 33.8, and then we have a further 1.2 kilometers to take us into our finish line. Now, this finish is brutal. It is a mean finish because our riders have got into a rhythm. There's not been too many hills, 2.5% or so, really the toughest hill that our riders have faced. There's been some long drags, some long pushes up and over the top, some speedy downhills, but nothing of the magnitude that we're going to see at the end of the racing, because at the end of this race, this course climbs. It's steep, it levels, it drops, it kicks again. It isn't just like a set of steps as we see sometimes with a steep riser, then it leveling, then rising. These sections actually dip down. The rider's losing height to gain height again, and that makes it very hard because it's really hard to get into a rhythm. The riders are going to have to change the speed of the pedaling. They're going to have to change gear on, and it's going to be about making sure that your bike and your kit work spot on. If you miss a gear change, if you go in the wrong gear, you can lose not just seconds, but if you get it really badly wrong, you can lose 10, 20, 30 seconds. It's not just individual seconds that will go if you get the gear in wrong. It'll also, if you get it really badly wrong, also break your rhythm completely. So you've got to get those gear changes smooth and slick. You've got to get the pedal revs right. You've got to judge it right so that you're putting in the effort at the right time. And at the same time, race against all these amazing competitors around you. And that is going to see the top of this mountain CA, I think, an exciting finish, because we've got some very quick riders in the mix today. And we have, of course, a number of our second category riders also battling it out as well, which is going to be really interesting to see who can match those first category riders as they go up the hill. Will we see a second category rider win? We haven't seen that for a long time. I have to do some digging back through my records just to see when, if it's happened, because I'm not certain we've seen a second category rider beat all of the first category riders for several months, if not longer. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens there. So hopefully bring you that information. I'll sit down and scroll my way through all our results a little bit later on. Now, just watching our riders a bit further down the race field, just jumping in. It looks like Emma Martin, the second category rider, being picked up by the third cat riders, jumping in and riding with the bunch and riding with this third cat group who are sitting there. And this is about getting that pace right, working together as a group. The more they work together, the smoother it's going to be. So we see this group there at 23.9k at the moment. So they continue to push in here, and experienced riders jumping in with the pack coming through, and it shows you the advantage of being in the pack as well. Our third category riders catching up with our second category rider as they come in through the mix. So interesting to see there. Currently down on our leaders, they are at 24.1k. Now, Jessica Mendoza and the Chasers, this is a second group on the road. They do have a couple of riders. There's going to be one rider in between. It is Liliana Moreno with 32 seconds up the road. Now, this means that they could pull from 16th into 17th into 16th place. So Liliana Moreno currently in 16th, Jessica Mendoza in 17th. They're going to pull another place back. They're only 2 minutes behind our race leaders, and 2 minutes could disappear very, very quickly that gap could go if anybody has misjudged their pace. And we know that there are a number of second cat riders who have been racing up with the first cats at the very front of the race who may well have misjudged this. It's very easy to do. And that could be the undoing if they hit those slopes too hard. But at the moment, this group, well, we're seeing those numbers drop. I mean, we've seen 1.9s, we've seen 2s, we've seen 3s. The pace really has gone off. They're at 30 kph on what is a relatively low gradient, 0.6%. So I think this group just having a bit of a regroup. Are we going to see Brommel stretch her legs and go on the offensive? They know that there is limited time before they go up on to the climb to finish the race off. The climb coming at 28.8k. So this into the final K before we turn onto the mountain. And this is where things are going to be interesting because nobody is taking this up at the front. It has backed right off. You can see the riders spread across the road. And this is a surefire indicator. Look at that blob. It's a big blob of riders. If it's one long line, somebody's gone really hard to squeeze and put everyone else under pressure at the moment. It really is blobbed up. It's really across the road. It's just starting to stretch now at 28.4 as Lubna El Halawani goes up onto the front. Brommel coming. And as we come into the climb, expect to see that pace pick up. Everyone will be knowing that they are going to hit that 28.8k marker, and then things get very tricky indeed because you've got to keep the pace. So here we are coming in towards the climb. 28.8 sees us go into the mountains. It's the start of segment number 7 as well. And that segment finishing at 1,200 meters before the finish line at 35k, 505 meters of elevation at the end, and it isn't just a straight uphill run. It's up, it's down, it's levels. This is going to be very interesting indeed. Now here we go, we're on to the road. We've hit 28.8. This course turns, it twists, and we're going to hit that gradient. Watch the numbers, watch the power, and watch this rider because this is going to be tough stuff. The chasers are breaking up here as they go in towards the climb. But the leaders are no doubt about to hit that steep section. That is where we could well see a massive kick off the front. These chasers trying to work their way back in now. Here we go. Onto the climb. Gilson comes to the front. 7 watts per kilo. We told you they were going to go through the roof. It has done. Gilson starts to attack. Brommel is up there. Gilson, we just seen 12.4 come from Gilson. Now she's gone solo very early on this climb. Remember, these riders know that they've got to get to 35k. Brommel behind continues to push. Golden Light, Bardaskaya, Van Heuling, El Halawani, Brogan, Black, Figueroa. They are all trying to stay in touch. This group coming back together again. Remember what we said about this climb. It's not just uphill. It'll steep, it levels, it drops. Every time that pace goes up, advantage to the bunch. Every time the pace is fast on those downhills, advantage to the bunch. The only time that doesn't pay off is when you are on the climb. Now, Brommel counter-attacking Gilson. Gilson getting pulled back there by Brommel on a counter-attack. I wonder whether Gilson doesn't want to go solo to the finish. She wants somebody to work with her, but Brommel's not doing that. You can just see, look at them. The power comes straight back off from Brommel there. She doesn't want to work with Gilson. She wants to come up here with some company. They're going to try and work to close the gap down. I think together, Gilson on the front of 5.5 watts per kilo drops down to 4.3 here. But as it levels off, the advantage will be with the bunch behind. You can see the numbers dropping down into the grey in that little box in the map view, top right-hand side of your screen. So the advantage is going to play in. We're now at nearly 30 kph, and the advantage is with the group. They're not going to work as hard if they're not on the front, and that is where it's going to pay to stay in that group. So 30 kph, almost 20 miles an hour, is a point to where you're still going to be affected by the aerodynamic drag. Once you drop down to about 20 kph, definitely not as much effect. And the mathematicians out there and the physicists will tell you that because aerodynamic drag basically is a bit like this difference of squaring something rather than multiplying it just by 2, because as the further up you go, the faster you go, it is much, much, much harder to push on. But Gilson is doing it again. She's gone off the front here. She's starting to wind this up. She's at 52 minutes of racing, 30k on the clock. 35k is the finish line. We're in segment number 7. This finishes 1,200 meters before the line. Gilson, though, 4.5 watts per kilo. Karut Quevedo is leading the chase behind here. Good to see Quevedo moving back up towards the front here. Quevedo ready for the Spartan Obstacles team along with Elizabeth Van Heuling. Remember, these teams can put 2 counters right up at the front. That is going to make a big, big difference, because if they do that, that is going to make life difficult for the other teams. The third counters are going to have to push. Meanwhile, Gilson on the front at 19 seconds. Gilson is trying to solo to the top of this mountain on her own. So Rebecca Gilson at the moment is absolutely flying up here. And will she be the rider who can take the victory up at the top? Just coming past that MyWhoosh banner at the moment. So as we come into the sort of final kilometres, this is the big push. Our group's starting to split. We did wonder whether some of those second category riders had done too much work, had done too much effort, but at the moment it looks to me like the riders are really pushing on here. This is going to be really, really tough stuff for the riders. If they're not careful, they will blow. But Gilson is looking very smooth indeed. So Rebecca Gilson continues to keep the gap opening at the moment. She's continuing to push on and open up the group, trying to extend that lead. And at the moment now at 32 seconds, that is looking like this could be the race winning move by Gilson. Behind, Golden Light is leading the charge. Lobna El Halwani is in the mix. They are 2 riders from the second category, surrounded by riders from the first category. So we've got Bada Sky, we've got Van Heuling in there. Lobna El Halwani really has been improving week on week on week, and that is what we're wanting to see. I think this is going to be really interesting as these riders continue up this climb. So Bartovskaya, Quevedo, Van Heuling, all chasing now. Elizabeth Van Heuling, a regular winner at the races on the Sunday Race Club, a regular rider who takes it on, still chasing now. The gap just dropping back down to 24 seconds. This chasing pack back together again, and still they haven't shed all of our second category riders. Natalie Hernandez moving up into the pack. It looks like Lubna El Halwani up there. Lisa Brommel keeping that pace nice and smooth. Julie Sanchez not out of the running either. But Gilson, I think, soloing away at the moment, looking like she could well take this by some margin. So Gilson continuing to push on here, 186 beats per minute. That is a seriously high heart rate. As Gilson comes up here, she's continuing to push behind Bardoskaya, Quevedo, Van Heuling, Brogan, Hernandez, Light, Brommel, El Halwani, Sanchez, all losing time to the race leader now. Golden Light trying to chase down Sanchez. Brommel is in here. None of our second category riders are taking away. She goes up this climb. We're at 9% gradient here, and this is tough stuff as you come up and through. Meanwhile, 32.1k comes Gilson. Now comes the next ramp, and again another brutal gradient here as you go in. It kicks, it's steeper as you come in to the inside of the bend, coming round this turn, and 8.6 at its apex, and then it starts to open up, starts to level out. But the moment you go over the top, very quickly it changes, it drops right off. You're dropping down at just shy of 2%, and then it kicks straight away again. And being able to get this pace right is really, really critical. But Gilson now about to hit the tunnels that will bring her up into the final few K. So into the tunnels goes Rebecca Gilson with a 40-second lead on Ursula Bardowskaya and Elizabeth Van Heuling. They've got Karut Kvedo for company, Gemma Brogan as well. Then 9 seconds back, Natalie Hernandez. 12 seconds back is Sanchez. This chasing group, they are absolutely stuffed full of very fast riders. The question is, can they do anything about the rider in front? I think the bird has flown the nest and gone, and any efforts now are definitely a case of trying to bolt the door once the horse has bolted, because this is not going to happen. The horse is well and truly gone as Rebecca Gilson has galloped away off in to race lead behind Brogan. Pushes as they come into the tunnel. She's got a gap on Van Heuling. Remember, all these riders are fighting for their position for the team time as well. They will want to be in the best position. Gilson is solo. He's not running for a team here. Neither is Bardowskaya. But the riders behind Van Heuling, Fado, Brogan, Hernandez, Sanchez, Brummel, El Halawani, all running for a team. So Gilson now at 32.9k. Next steep kick coming up. You see that gradient increase meanwhile in the tunnels. This is the battle for second, third, fourth, and fifth places. A really absorbing race here because these guys are so well matched. We're not seeing big gaps being made. We're not seeing riders break clear. At the moment, Van Heuling is in there with Kvedo, and they are the riders who are looking to take this out. They want to take Brogan in with them as well, but Brogan is a little bit further back on because we're going to see if they can bring them in together. So at the moment, Karut Kvedo, Gemma Brogan, and Elizabeth Van Heuling all riding for the squad, moving up and through Kvedo, Brogan, and Van Heuling for the Spartan Obstacles. The number one team look like they're going to make this number one again. They've got 3 riders currently inside the top 5, and this should see them secure in that position. Behind, though, those teams are really going to be up against it. They need to keep pushing. I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility for the second, third, and fourth teams to be a mix of first and second category riders as they come in and through. Meanwhile, Gilson at 33.5 being chased by Bardowskaya. Bardowskaya, the only one of those 4 chasers behind our race leader who's not in the same team. I think she's decided that she's just going to get worked over by them as they go in and through. And trying to break clear now. Our race leader at 33.6k, continuing to push in up this slope. She's going to get to the end of the segment fairly quickly. Remember, 33.8 is the end of the segment. And these riders are pushing very hard into that point when there'll be 1,200 meters to go. And this should give us a real clear indication of the time. Remember, this segment started at the bottom of the mountain, and that means that this is going to give us some real-time analysis on the riders going up the slope. And it's going to be Gilson who's going to be the first rider in and through. So Gilson goes through 11 minutes, number 1 rider, 11 minutes, 32.8 seconds for that segment. The next riders, 200 meters to go to that same point, are chasing behind, but they are also battling for second, third, fourth, and fifth places in the race. They have 20 seconds back to Hernandez, Brummel, and Sanchez behind, 30 seconds to El Halawani, Golden Light further back still. And that means that these riders realistically are still fighting it out for the top 5 now. Here we are, Lubna El Halawani. She has 51 seconds to Brogan's group, but she has 35 seconds, 40 seconds behind to Figueroa. That should be enough. these riders know that they've got to keep pushing though. Brommel, Hernandez, Brogan, Van Heuling, Quevedo, Bardoskaya, and then Gilson, of course, clear up at the front now. You can see a segment number 7 times are in. 5 riders through there. Gilson, Bardoskaya, Van Heuling, Brogan, Quevedo. The time difference from the base of the hill to the end of that section of the segment, 57.264 seconds. Say that again, 57.264 seconds. That's the Bardoskaya. Hernandez is at 1 minute 28 on that climb, 1:31 further back. Gilson has annihilated the group. She's gone clear, and the gap has really opened up. And Gilson taking nearly 1 minute out of our race leader as they come into the finish onto that climb. That is a phenomenal performance by Gilson up at the front of the race. She now knows that she's into the last 500 meters. You can see that those numbers are dropping down. She's sitting at about 4 watts per kilo at the moment. As she goes into our next tunnel, she'll pop out at the other side of the tunnel and be into that finish. 34.6k covered for Gilson, less than 400 meters to the finish behind Van Heuling and co still together. And we're looking forward to seeing just how this fight transpires for the riders behind between Van Heuling, Quevedo, Bardoskaya and Brogan. But Gilson now with less than 300 meters to go, less than 200 meters to go. We've got a dip down. She's going to come up on that finish line very quickly indeed. You can see the MyWhoosh arch up on the top of the hillside. Gilson goes for it. She goes through the finish of the arch there. So Gilson takes a race victory here at qualifier number 1 in July. She broke clear at the base. She took well over a minute as she came in through to the finish on all the rest of the riders. So Gilson it is who takes victory as she goes up over the top of the climb. Now you can just see our riders scattered all the way out and around the course. We're working our way back up to Elizabeth Van Heuling as we see Quevedo on the attack now at 5.9. They're trying to get rid of Bardoskaya. They don't want to get rid of Brogan, their teammate, but there are 3 riders from the Spartan Obstacles team out of the 4 riders together, and this is about getting this finish right. Very tricky finish. Brogan goes down quickly, down that downhill, they're onto the climb. Van Heuling comes up over the top. Brogan goes to his Bardoskaya. Get it, let's get that confirmed. Oh, it's Elizabeth Van Heuling. And look at the gap between them. It is nothing between those 2 riders. We are talking about 0.116 of a second between Elizabeth Van Heuling in second and Gemma Brogan in third. Bardoskaya in 4th place splits the Spartan Obstacles team with Quevedo coming in 5th place. So that should give the team to the Spartan Obstacles. Lisa Brommel goes in, and that's our first second category rider in through the line. That is going to be Natalie Hernandez. She's going to take first rider in the second category. It should be Lobna El Halawani and Julie Sanchez battling it out for second and third places as Natalie Hernandez in and through. So let's see, who will it be? I think it's going to be Sanchez. She's 20 seconds or so, down to 13 at the moment to El Halawani. She shouldn't lose this. The momentum carried down this hill should bring it up to the top. So Hernandez taking top spot in category 2. It's going to be Sanchez taking second place. Should be Lobna El Halawani, who's going to take third place in that second category competition. Behind Golden Light about to run in, and you can see still the riders in that original break that had survived to the base of the hill coming in. And these are the time gaps that were blown into the group by that attack by Rebecca Gilson. So Golden Light and Figueroa go in and through. These are your top riders through. Gilson leading them home. Van Heuling in second. Brogan in third. Then it's Bardoskaya in 4th. Quevedo in 5th. Hernandez in 6th place and the first of our second category riders. Lisa Brommel is in 7th with Julie Sanchez, the second of our second category riders. Lobna El Halawani takes 9th place and 3rd in the second category. We've got Golden Light in 10th place, who comes in and through. She's our 4th second category rider. Then it's Heidi Figueroa, who's going to come through 11th place and 5th place in our second category competition. Lupus Marcel Smithers of that original group coming through in 12th place. Those gaps have really blown in. An amazing victory there by Rebecca Gilson. The team victory going to Spartan Obstacles. Don't forget, we've today launched the PC operating system for the program for MyWhoosh. Make sure you jump on there. If you want to join these amazing athletes out on the course, if you want to join us for a MyWhoosh's ride, download the links, download the app, get it up on your screen. Come and join us out and racing. Make sure you subscribe to the MyWhoosh YouTube channel. And don't forget, of course, we're going to be back next week. Next week, Jeff will be in the hot seats, calling all of the action whilst I'm out and covering and supporting one of our youth development programs. And then we're going to be back the week after, the final at the end on the 31st of July. So once again, Gilson Van Heulenbrugge in your top 3. Spartan Obstacles taking the team win. Amazing riding by all of our riders. From me, Matt Payne. Catch up with me on Facebook, on Strava, and of course on Instagram. From qualifier race number 1. Thank you for watching. Stay safe. We'll see you again next time.